Hey guys,
Welcome
before we start, a
everyone
quick
to
shout out
Dawn
to
the
Alpha
Dogs
Dog
podcast.
Nutrition for sponsoring this
Steve Fielder here with
podcast.
you one
Alpha
more
Dog products
time.
are now available at
And I have a
dusupply.com,
very
and you can
special
use
guest
code
with me today.
ALPHADOG15
A guy
at
from the
checkout for
great
15%
state
off
of West
and a credit for
Virginia
free shipping to
and
try it yourself.
the
Now let's get you to your
mountains that
podcast.
almost heaven. Take me home, country roads. Mr. Jamie Estep. How you doing, Jamie?
Hey, I am doing well. You are right. I'm right here in Randolph County of West Virginia, the Mountain State. Your home.
My home, and man, did I enjoy coming
gone
up
to the
there
dog.
for that West Virginia plot sectional that you put on out there at Beverly, I believe it
Yep.
was. Yeah,
is.
what a pretty place. That was a nice
is.
place out there.
Yeah.
You know, if people will travel our state from one end to the other, they'll find some of the most beautiful country, you know, and especially over there where you are.
Yeah.
You're over in the bigger mountains of West Virginia.
We're over, right here from Elkins. I tell everybody from McDonald's, what we call the center of town, that red light there,
Yeah.
you can go two different directions and be at three different ski resorts in about the same amount of time. So you can be at Snowshoe and Canaan, and so we live in the mountains a little bit here.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, John Denver had it right, you know, country roads take me home. I get the itchy feet, I say, in the fall. I live in Florida. Everybody knows I do now. And that's where the old elephants go to die. That's what a former pastor of mine told me one time after he had moved down here. But, you know, there's just nothing like coming home to the mountains, especially if you were born there. Yeah. And, you know, and I get online and I see people talking about how beautiful the state is. And I say, yeah, you know, would I want to go back to the town where I was raised? No, probably not now.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't. It's changed so much, you know. But up there where you are, that's, you know, a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, my wife and I did what we call our leaf peeping tour.
Yeah.
You know, and we went over and did the Skyline Drive in Virginia and stayed over there at the lodge up on the mountain, and that Shenandoah Valley is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then came over, you know, through West Virginia and went to Davis and stayed at and went to Blackwater Falls and some things that I had never done. You know, even though I was raised in West Virginia, I'd never been to Canaan Valley, and I'd never been to to Blackwater Falls. But just a gorgeous, gorgeous place.
Yeah.
Well, you're a blessed. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say we have a lot of people that do that. Our town here has a tourist train ride, and a lot of during the leaf peeping season, you know, you'll see people coming in riding the train to High Falls. You know, it's just a busy time, and honestly, you know, we take it for granted here. We do. I mean, you know, I've been, you know, many times to Canaan, Blackwater, all of that, you know, but Snowshoe down through Pocahontas County, riding the scenic highway, just a lot of things that we take for granted that, I mean, you just see it every day. You don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. I tell people this is kind of a little funny story. And Cass Scenic Railroad.
Yeah.
You know, I've ridden that in the fall. Take a sweater or a jacket. Everybody does that. Said, man, it got cold up there.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Go ahead, and I'll say something.
Oh, well, no, I was just going to tell you real quick. One time, my dad and a fellow bear and coon hunter there from our area named Ernie Gray, we took some dogs and we started down at the bottom of that scenic railroad, and we walked all the way to the top. I guess that's Cheap Mountain up there.
Yeah.
And back down. And when we came off that morning, we could see our truck, you know, in the daylight as we came back.
Yeah.
And we caught one coon.
One coon.
And that whole walk. But you got quite a few more coons now. But go ahead with what you were going to say,
Well, I was just going to say, some of the same things like over towards High Falls, some of the areas that we bear hunt and coon hunt, and I've, been on those tracks and just see people come riding by. And I remember we'd treat a bear a couple seasons back, and man, I was just wishing that I could get over to those tracks because the river had us separated there, and the water was just up enough, and it was ice, and it was floating, and
was that Shaver's Fork? Or
probably back in towards Glady and everything, and I was I just couldn't. I mean, I could just get there, and it would get deep, and I couldn't. I didn't want to get out into ice, and I remember just finally making it back to the truck and driving home. And actually, I had to have some people drive me home. I was cramping so bad, and I was just like, "This is this reminds me why I'm a coon hunter."
Yeah, really. Well, that was, when I look at myself today and how difficult it is for me it's more of a balance thing with me anymore, but there was a time, when I could go anywhere anybody else could go. Might not go quite as fast as some of those long-legged guys, but I could go, and my dad used to say, "Steve, slow down, you're walking me to death." But then, as I got... of course, I told him at that point, I said, well, that's just paybacks, Dad. Yeah. Because you walked me to death when I was a kid, Yeah. But it's a great state, and there is so many, if you like the outdoors, it's a wonderful place to live. And I applaud you for living there, where you've chosen. Jamie, you are one of the busiest men that I have ever seen in my life. Now, let's go down the list here just so my listeners can. I know that we spoke at the West Virginia Plot Sectional along with John Sturgill and Les Boland, and we had a good visit there. But just to refresh, now, just kind of give me a little bio of the different hats that you wear and so forth.
Well, pastoring would be my first hat. That's why I'm in Randolph County. I've been senior pastor at Elkins Family Worship Center for actually this past Sunday was 16 years. I've been here in awesome. Randolph County, and
that's awesome.
I also serve as the administrator of Elkins Christian Academy, and right now that's a school based out of our church. And right now, not only am I serving as the administrator, this year I'm back in the classroom full time. I'm in the class. We couldn't get a full staff hired, so I'm back in the classroom with 5th and 6th graders, wrestling some middle schoolers down.
Bless your heart.
And so that's what I do, I guess, profession, calling, whatever you want to say that. But that, and then on the hound side, I serve as a field rep for UKC. So we're getting ready to, this is kind of almost a couple of weeks. We'll be getting ready for a busy season with autumn oaks, and then moving right into the zones and into the world hunt. And I'm working all week at Autumn Oaks. Well, not all week. I'll come up Tuesday morning. I'm working the slams, and they're doing some creative things with me on Friday and Saturday. So I'm not really for sure exactly what I'm doing on Friday and Saturday. We're kind of got some things up in the air there yet, but I know I'll be there, and then moving right into the zones. And then I also serve as the state president for the West Virginia Coon Hunters. This will be starting my 4th year of that. We just finished our state hunt. And then on the local level, right now I'm the local club president. Now, me and another guy, we kind of switched those duties around. I've been about every office in that club, and right now I'm the president, but that could change too, because we've got 4 or 5 of us that kind of share a lot of duties there. So it's not like we might have titles, but that doesn't really mean anything to us, to be honest with you. We have a job to do, and we do it.
Well, you didn't mention your work with the Tournament of Champions that you do.
Yeah.
Anchoring the media coverage there. And by the way, I think you do an awesome job with that.
Yeah.
It's good to see a coon hunter involved with that. I worked that the very first year, and I enjoyed it, and it was great. But I think that it's just gotten better. Yeah. But one of the things that you were talking about there about not being too how can I say this? You've never been a guy that seems to be impressed with yourself. You're one of the people that is always, in the middle of things, and whatever you're doing, there's a signature to it that says, that not only do you do it well, and I don't want to blow your head up, Jamie, but as I said earlier, we're really blessed to have you. And I guess what I was trying to say is it hasn't gone to your head, all of the hats that you're wearing. But,
no, it don't. It don't do that. It makes you work a little bit. To be honest with you, I'm driving right now as we're doing this podcast. I'm driving to Morgantown, and things like this make you kind of realize what life is. I'm driving to Morgantown to work a surgery that a lady has to go in for emergency brain cancer surgery tomorrow. And so, I'm in a profession where you can come back to reality real fast. I mean, that's, you can deal with a question on a coon hunt on Saturday night when people think that's the end of the world. But to be honest with you, that's not the end of the world, whether you win or lose it. What I'm dealing with tonight really has the opportunity to be, it's detrimental to life.
Yeah. Well, I certainly understand that for sure. And friend, the older you get, how old are you, by the way, Jamie?
I'm 50 years old.
50. Wow, man. You're just breaking. You're just getting ready to hit your stride here, man.
My joke on 50 is when I hit 50, I laugh and say my check engine light came on. So that's I ain't gonna say I got any misses yet, but I do laugh and say my check engine light came on.
There's a coon hunter, a longtime friend down in Raleigh County. His name is Nathan Eds. I know
Nathan well. White Oak Bart.
That's right. Made it to the World Championship with Bart, I believe. But he says he's not quite as old as I am, I don't think, or maybe close. But he says, Steve, we're standing in the checkout line.
That's.
I understand.
I don't think I might not be in the checkout line, but I do. I can tell you my check engine light's on at times. I can tell you that.
I got you. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, and we can get into a lot of different things, and I'm glad that you're multitasking, and I'm not taking you away from something else right now.
Not at all. I enjoy this.
Well, that's good. I do too. You just had a very successful West Virginia State Championship, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about that, and hopefully. What I always try to do is inspire somebody to get involved and roll up their sleeves a little bit and bring their ideas and their energy and all into our sport, because that's what's going to carry it, forward. You had the state hunt. Where was it this year?
We were in Tyler County in Middleborn.
I have been there to coon hunts over the years. That's kind of in the central part of the state.
Yeah, maybe central heading out 50 just a little bit and jumping towards like New Martinsville, not far, getting up there a little bit towards the Ohio River.
Right.
But but yeah, right. That's where we were at.
Yeah. And what kind of venue did you have up there for that?
It was an old 4-H ground, 4-H fairground. So pretty nice, very shaded. It was a 4-H campground, and something happened with, I don't really know that unnecessary story there, but basically that's what it is. Still owned by by the county commission, I think is who owns it. So that's where we were at, right off of 18 before you get into Middleborough.
I got you. Well, now, is there an active coon club right there?
Yep. Yeah, it's probably one of the most active in the state right now. Is Tyler County Coon Hunters. Trevor Tallman is the president there, and has done a fantastic job. And right now, that swing through there is probably moving right on up into St. Mary's and into that area. It's probably one of the most active for coon hunters right now anywhere in West Virginia. So,
well, that's pretty good coon country up there along the Ohio River, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably just as good a hunting as anywhere in West Virginia. Yeah. I call them a couple coon cast. That's what you got to look at in West Virginia. It's not, certain cast you might be able to get into a coon treeing contest, but most of the time in West Virginia, if you can tree a couple of coon and stay clean, you're gonna have a good shot at winning something.
It's pretty well always been that way. You get you tree 3 coons and get most of it, you're gonna win any hunt. And of course, you lived at one time down in the part of the world where I come from, down in southern West Virginia, didn't you? Where did you live when you were down there?
I lived in McDowell County in a little place called Bradshaw, right on the Virginia line, the Virginia line.
I know exactly where it is. Yep. Well, so the Tyler County Coon Hunters, do you have a two-day event or
a 2-day event? We had a Saturday or a Friday show and a Friday night hunt, and then a Saturday show and a Saturday night hunt. And then last year we started doing something a little bit different. We actually added last year for the first time a confirmation show, working with the Eastern Coonhound Confirmation Club. And we really don't do anything with it. We just provide them with a place, I guess you can say, as a host. Right. And they take care of it. They run it. They buy all their prizes. I mean, honestly, all I do is get up and show up and welcome everybody and smile and just sit there and watch. And it was a no-brainer for us, just because you draw a lot of the same people that are showing on benches. They're showing on the ground and the confirmation, and if they come at 9:00 and bench shows at 1:00, they're going to buy hot dogs and hamburgers, and they're going to support the club. So for us, it was a no-brainer to welcome them to the state hunt. It added a venue for us, and it's worked really good for us. It's worked really good for us.
Well, that was over the years, when I went to PKC, Larry Meeks, who hired me there, wanted to start bench shows. Way back, Jarvis had some bench shows back in the day when Junior Lassiter and some of those people were showing and trying to make a go of it, but didn't really do anything with it other than maybe at the World Hunt. So anyway, we got busy and putting those shows on, and some of the hunters would see those show dogs winning money, and they got a little bit greedy. They said, "Man, you ought to be putting that money on the working dogs,"
Yeah.
And I always said, the show, whatever you want to do with your coonhound, that's reasonable. You should be able to do that. Yeah. Whether it's show the dog, and there's a lot of people that aren't physically capable. Of course, with these as quote unquote ground shows, the conformation shows, you've got to be able to move around the ring with those dogs. But at any rate, it's a great gateway for the young people.
Yeah.
And it's brought so many ladies into our sport that now they pretty much dominate the show end of things. And to me, that's great to have something that they can do. And so, you know, I'm all for it. And of course, when I went to AKC, one of the main jobs that I had there was to bring those UKC breeds into AKC conformation shows.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm all for it.
It's been a great win for us. And I mean, and I get it. I think they've caught some feedback from maybe certain areas, certain states, and whatever, you know, whatever the direction that state or that state association goes is their business. But, for us, it works. For us, I look at it as it's not hurting us. And I say to people all the time, you know, you talk about PKC and you talk about Pro Sport and all these guys, you know, if somebody wants to hunt a $6,500 hunt, it's not hurting me. I mean, so go hunt. I mean, it's not, you know, and if I want to show my dog on the ground, it's not hurting me. And if you don't want to show your dog on the ground, then don't show your dog on the ground. That's
the old saying, you don't like my lemons, don't shake my tree, right?
Yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not going to, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not going to probably ever put a dog in a water race or a treating contest. I mean, you know, I would just about rather watch paint dry than watch a water race. But, you know, that doesn't mean that when it comes to, you know, the plot sectional in our local hunt that we're not going to have one because we are. And I'm going to be there smiling and pulling that rope if I got to pull the rope. But that doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean that it floats my boat, but, you know, I'm also going to support it because it's others. And that's kind of how I view it.
Oh, I do too. There's strength in numbers, you know. And, and the friends out in Colorado now are trying to keep their lion hunting. And there's a lot of support coming from different hound groups all over and all, you know. And it doesn't matter really what you do with them, as I say again, as long as it's something you're not being cruel or whatever. And we all need, you know, we're a very, very small piece of a very small pie. And we've got to stick together. Well, that's an old drum that I've beaten to death for way too many years, but I guess I'll continue to beat it as long as I'm able because it's true. All right, so you had then, so you had this confirmation show. Did you do that on Thursday or on Friday?
No, that was on Saturday morning.
Oh, on Saturday.
Saturday morning. We actually had, I have my numbers here in front of me. For the confirmation show itself, we doubled. We had right about last year, our first year, we had about, I can't tell you exactly, but a good safe number was about 12 to 15. But I do know this year in the confirmation show, we had 31 entries. Very, very pleased with that. As a president, going into, you know, I set some goals and we seen some numbers where we wanted to be, but you was talking about my nature and stuff. I'm just by nature, I mean, I'm very competitive. My wife, it probably gets on her nerves some, but if we're playing marbles, I want to win just about. I mean, just, I'm very competitive. And so I want to improve. I want to see us get better. And we could grow the bench show every year. And our goal this year over 2 days was a 2-day entry was to have 65 dogs. And the hunt was to have over 100 entries over 2 days. And we had been able to raise that bench show every year But the last couple of years, I couldn't break 100. I think if I would have paid people's entry, I think we could only get into the 90s. And
now you
so
said bench show, but you're talking night hunt there with
night
the
hunt and bench show.
Oh,
it is.
together.
The bench show we could
okay.
raise.
I got you.
But
yeah.
the night hunt, I couldn't get over 100 entries over 2 days in the night hunt. And so, so our goal this year was to have 65 entries in 2 days at the bench show and have over 100 entries in the night hunt over 2 days. And we got it. In the bench show over 2 days, we had 68 entries.
Awesome.
And then if you count our duels and pairs, now not when you count pairs, I'm not counting two dogs. I'm counting an entry, you know. And if you count the duels and the pairs, we had 81 entries.
That's awesome.
Over 2 days.
That's
and
major class right there.
Yeah. And then in the hunt, we had 112 over 2 days. So we was very pleased. We were very pleased with that. One thing we did this year, I was actually going up to Tyler County and just kind of, I don't know if you want to say dreamed up an idea. My mind was trying to think, how can I break 100 entries, and just trying to be creative. And this year we added a slam on Saturday night and ran it in conjunction with our regular entry. We had to do some creative things that I got permission with for Trevor, and Trevor worked with me on some stuff so that we could get it, you know, to make sure that it classified, because I wanted to use a total hunt for a total elimination format, and make sure that it lined up with how we could crown a state champion and all of that stuff. And we fielded a 24 dog $200 slam on Saturday night, and they had a mandatory split, so they split $4,000.
Wow,
the four cast winners each won $1,000 each, and so the people really that hunted in it really enjoyed that, and they really enjoyed the $1,000 for sure.
I'm sure.
And
I am.
So we had an overall good hunt. I was very pleased, and I was tired, but we did well. You know, the state show champion was Blue, the black and tan dog. I love that name.
I know. Dave and Kelly Myers.
Dave and Kelly Myers won the state show, and the opposite sex was a grand red female owned by Beth Jenkins. And then the night hunt champion was Gun, owned by Eldon Hellman. He's an older gentleman, I think, that had been out of the sport for a little bit and has gotten back in, and
good.
And had a handler. John Tallman was the handler on that, and then a local gentleman there by the name of Nick Biltner with a dog named Razor won opposite sex, and then or reserve, I should say. And then the confirmation champion was Sassy, owned by Joe Moore up in Pennsylvania. That name probably rings a bell.
Oh, yeah,
Joe,
absolutely.
Joe. And you probably knew Joe's daddy that had plot dogs at one time, I think.
Yes.
And then the reserve confirmation champion was Loco, a dog named Loco, owned by it's black and tan, owned by Robert and Colby Scarberry down around the Huntington area.
Okay.
And then the dual champion winner was I think the dog was actually a dual grand dog out of Indiana, I think. Indiana or Northern Ohio, a dog called Mac, shown by a young girl by the name of Kendall Acres.
Okay, I'm not familiar with those, but it looks like
And,
you were drawing from out of the area there too.
We did, and then the pairs, Beth Jenkins and Matt Cruz, won the pairs with a couple of red bones. I think the red bone male is winning Purina right now, and then a grand female that won opposite sex. But yeah, we had.
You had good dogs. I see that.
We had Indiana represented. We had Ohio represented. We had, a strong showing from Pennsylvania. Virginia represented. I don't know. I mean, Tennessee represented. I know that. I'm just trying to think. But probably our strongest was, of course, West Virginia, and then probably PA was strong.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was a good weekend. It was a very good weekend.
Well, so, I had the privilege years ago to judge the state championship, and yeah, it was funny how these memories come back. I remember after that show that day, a fella come up to me and he said, "You didn't even look at my dog." And I said, "Buddy, I looked at so many Walker dogs today, I've still got spots in front of my eyes." He said, "What was wrong with my dog?" I said, "I don't even remember who your dog was, what your dog was, but that's all part of it." But yeah, there's a long tradition there. And I was trying to think of some of the great dogs, down through the years. I remember Joe Brown that used to show dogs.
Yeah.
Do you remember Joe?
Yeah, and you can actually see Joe from time to time. He'll still show up around, and then, you got to remember in West Virginia, if you're, showing, you got to, Dale Pruenty, and then, he jumped over to the Beagle side, and here just in a few weeks they do a big Dale Pruenty Classic up in Brave, PA, which, is right there on the West Virginia line. They do a Beagle Classic up there in honor of Dale. And, when I was a boy coming up to the state hunt in Grafton at the Taylor County Fairgrounds, Dale was a big, strong player there.
Sure. Dale was a good friend. I hunted with Dale. My dad really always enjoyed Dale Prunty, and Dale handled the Biggerstaff's little buck dog for Claire Chenoweth.
Yep.
And they traveled around in a fancy van and all that back in the day.
Yeah.
But and I walked along on a cast with Dale and Buck one time at Walker Days. That was very enjoyable. But anyway, my dad told the story. He said Dale went to a night hunt, and he said, "I told the judge strike my dog," and the judge looked at me, and I don't want to tell this wrong, but I believe the judge was Jim Mathis. From down in South Carolina, had the Carolina Casey dog. Yeah. But I could be wrong on that. But anyway, he said, he looked at me and he said, "Son, don't you know your dog's name?"
I've actually heard of that happening a few times myself. So.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. There's so many great dogs that I remember down through the years, that... Of course, Gary Davis's Night Heat dog was a very famous dog from West Virginia, and of course Kenny Mason's dogs, and
Kenny was actually he was high scoring dog on Friday night this year of the state hunt, and ended up placing 5th overall. I think he's got him a new little project that he's like, and he calls her Loretta Lynn.
Gotcha.
So I don't know where he got her from, but a lot of people are talking about her up there. So and the club now, actually, if you've ever been to Kenny's house,
I have not, but I heard that it's amazing.
Yeah, the club is just down the road from Kenny's house is where it's at.
I got you. Well, everything triggers a memory with me. We were at Bucyrus, Ohio one night at the PKC. What's that jamboree they held up there?
Spring Classic.
It might have been, yeah. And Kenny made the Final Four, and somebody, I don't know if it was Kenny or not, but decided to hunt it off. And I think he had the Hard Rock Cafe dog at that time. Yep. But when they were leaving the clubhouse, it was a downpour, and that rain was coming sideways. And I said, that's a tough bunch right there.
Yeah.
Going to the woods in this weather. And I don't know how they did, but just those memories that that remain, and a great sport. Well, so anyway, you met your goals and exceeded them, so that should be encouraging to anybody out there. But it doesn't just happen, though, does it?
No, it's took us 3 years to get here, and then this year we, I think we hit the right location. We, that's what I've said many times. With as a state president, you got to kind of follow your trends, and you got to know where your hunters are, and so I think we got that right. And Trevor Tallman, and he just put a ton of work into getting sponsorships, getting good packages. Charlotte and Bucky Hicks. Bucky's on my board, and Charlotte, they live right there off of 50 or right close there. And so they were working real close with Trevor and helping with the prize package. And,
great folks, by the way.
And so, a lot of people working together to make it happen. And, Trevor got sponsorships. I mean, the state champion dog won, he won $700 in cash. And so, by sponsorships, and then putting together, I can't even tell you what, between trophies and
I saw the pictures on Facebook.
I mean, so it just, a lot of people, Dave McVeigh with Purina. I got to
super
give Dave
guy.
a shout with what he done for us, sponsorships. And so, it wasn't just me. I mean, I might have been the one that set the goals and things like that, and have kind of kept us moving in that direction.
Well,
but it was there was a lot of us working to put it and to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, as I look back on successes that we had at UKC over the years, and I was there, two things I learned. Well, you got to have somebody that has the ideas and is thinking about ways to improve, okay? But you also got to be able to delegate, and you got to be a pretty good judge of people and character to hire. You mentioned you're a field rep, and some of my best friends to this day are guys that were field reps with me, and then actually under me when I was the manager there. But just great guys that had, that understood what we were trying to do, and didn't mind to get their hands dirty if that's what it took, drive the miles, go. I could tell so many stories. I need to do a podcast sometime just to thank and tribute to the many great field reps that I had over the years. And right now I want my listeners, and I think I've mentioned this before, and you may know, Lindell Price is I've said he's my brother from another mother. That's a little cliched, but Lindell and I've had so many great times together. He came to Michigan just about every fall there for several years and hunted with me. He's having some challenges right now, and he's in therapy there in Pulaski, Virginia. I don't know exactly if he had a stroke but it's something pertaining to that. And I don't know exactly how. What his condition is right now, but I know his wife Connie says he's grumbling. He wants to go home, but I would just ask my friends of faith out there, and you too, Jamie, to remember Lindale, because, man, I can't even start without. And what I wanted to say is, when I had guys like him and Jimmy Phillips and David McKee and Nubbin, all these guys, I don't want to name them because I leave some out. When there was jobs to do, work to do, and I'd get busy with this or that, and I'd go, for instance, setting up the show ring at a world championship. Not a small job. Get it right, get it looking right, get all the stuff set. I'd come in, and there it is. It's just like it appeared out of nowhere. I didn't have to tell them to do that, I didn't have to tell Paul and Francis Toon, who were elderly people in the black and tan breed years ago, to go to an RQE, and I prayed for those folks so many nights, them leaving a coon club somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, at their age. They were well up in their 70s. Just on and on and on, the good people. And I think that's what you have an ability to do, Jamie, is to delegate these things, get the idea, and put it in the hands. And, of course, you're
and Lindell, talking about Lindell, I mean, being from southern West Virginia, and me and you've talked before, my opinion of Lindell. He's a mentor and a person that I continue to look up to, and I laugh and say all the time is my work as a field rep is modeled after him, and I laugh and say those guys worked as field reps. We have it made. We don't have to work the RQEs, and I tell people all the time, my son has been in it since birth almost, and some of these
Drew.
folks roll up.
Hey, Drew! Shout out to Drew, man. He's my fishing guide.
He's your fishing buddy. But most of these guys roll up to a RQE now, and if you have 30 dogs in an RQE, you're one of the top RQEs in the country. Well,
correct.
I can remember getting up at daylight and driving to Danville, Virginia, just to get in line so you didn't get put on the waiting list. I mean, I can remember winning my cast and getting kicked, getting on the bubble and getting bumped. And so there's those guys, Lindell and even Bobby Dennison. I'm driving through Buchanan. I just come by the road that Bobby Dennison lives on right now, just drove by about 5 or 6 miles of Bobby's house. But those guys worked. We have it made as field reps by just working the majors, but those guys work about every weekend almost. So we get to wear the nice little shirts that they probably didn't get to wear them, but they worked a lot harder.
We had shirts for them and hats. But you're right. In fact, and I've said this before, maybe mentioned with you, but, we started what we called a Century Club. And if a field rep entered 100 or more dogs in his RQE, he got a Century Club membership and a plaque. And at the World Hunt, we would recognize all the field reps that had 100 or more dogs at their RQE. And there were several of them each year. Back when that thing was really rolling, we started, I went there in 83, and we'd had, I think, about 100 entries at the World Hunt the year before. But, man, we really started building that thing, and it was those guys, those field reps that were out there on Saturday night. And, of course, I had been a field rep, so I understood a little bit about what they were going through out there, but I don't take credit for that. I give it all to those guys that were out there doing the job, know. Yeah, well, awesome. Well, let's a little bit here. I've been with you for 45 minutes now, Jamie. Have you reached your destination, or are you still got some time?
We're still about 45 minutes out of
Oh,
Morgantown.
good,
So,
good. That's great.
yeah.
Go Mountaineers, right?
Yeah, that's right. So,
The great
but,
Jerry West just passed away here not long
that's
ago.
right. Yeah.
He and my mother went to the same high school. Of course, she
Oh,
went
really?
she went to East Bank High School a long
Yeah.
time before he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Autumn Oaks coming up. I just did a segment. In fact, it's airing this week as you and I are recording with Lee Currens talking about Autumn Oaks. And, of course, Lee is in his 80s and still enjoys showing dogs. And so Autumn Oaks is a great time. Now, I'm only going to be there 2 days. I usually come on Thursday. But this year I chickened out and decided to fly. So I'm flying into Dayton Friday morning about 9:30 and slide over. But, man, I'd hate to miss Autumn Oaks. That's a great time.
Autumn Oaks is it truly is the event where history is made. You probably was part of that tagline. But,
I did. I wrote that. I'll claim it. And I tell Alan and Trevor, I'm glad they're still using it. I just haven't seen my royalty check yet.
Yeah, it's the one that you can go to that one without a dog and enjoy it. I mean, I think it's the it's the granddaddy, in my opinion, of all hunts, of all registries.
Yeah.
So it's I've never won the World Hunt, but I have won Autumn Oaks, and there's nothing, it's in my opinion, it is the greatest atmosphere of coon hounds, and that's you can't top it.
Well, in the conformation world, there are shows all over the country, and those AKC shows draw a lot of dogs. But the Westminster Kennel Club show in New York will always be, the number one. And it's not actually even put on by AKC. It's put on by that kennel club there. But Autumn Oaks just takes things to the next level as far as the presentation and the prestige and the way it's done. And Alan and Trevor just do a tremendous job.
Yeah.
And they, again, back to the subject, they got good people like yourself to help that all come together,
Yeah.
And we mentioned Lindell Price. I call him Lindell, but his name is Everett.
Yeah.
But his buddy Wendell Bond, I think, Wendell still helping with Autumn Oaks?
He is. Wendell's still working, and we'll all be on hand on Friday. Friday is a big, it's the big with the grands, and then you having the walk up entries. That's just a whole nother bear.
Oh, yeah.
And Saturday's a little bit more, chilled, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, they've added a couple of slams the way bigger money, a little more higher priced entries. They're doing one they're doing one on Saturday out of Richmond, and they're hoping to keep some of the grand dogs that got beat. They can stay over and hunt. And then they're doing one, I think, Wednesday. I'm not sure of that. Wednesday or Thursday. And they're doing it in Versailles.
Versailles.
If I'm saying
Versailles.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it there. And and I'm not sure the entries on either one of those. I know they're a little, I'm working the $35 slams, but these are a little bit more entry. So I'm not sure, exactly the price of those.
Well, the thing about that is, I think that you can play at whatever level that's comfortable for you or whatever you want to do. And then the deal is that you get all of that excitement and all of the fanfare and all of the vendors and everything that goes along with Autumn Oaks in a great venue.
I
there.
know last year on the Thursday night slam in Muncie, along with the dual champion hunt in Richmond, Muncie, I put 90 some dogs in the woods. And I mean, Muncie did an outstanding job. We go to Muncie Wednesday and Thursday, and then on Tuesday we're in Liberty, which is Richmond,
over in the lake over there.
right out, right out of.
Do you see Donnie Huber when you go
like
over
that.
to? I'm losing you. I'm losing you a little bit.
You'll lose me here for just a second, in and out.
Well, let's pause it just for a minute.
Okay.
And chill. All right, we took a little bit of a cell phone break there, Jamie.
Welcome to West Virginia on the cell phone break.
Right. You got. I told the other day when I started the podcast with Lee Kearns, I said, "Is this a store down there, Piedmont, South Carolina, that's got the phone up on the pole?" But we're talking about Autumn Oaks, the event where history is made, and one thought came to mind to me, even about the variety of hunts and all that they have now, which that's fantastic. And for years, the guys down at North Vernon or over at Greensburg, wherever they're holding that Labor Day Classic for PKC, those guys all come up to Richmond and take in all the sights and you know.
I'm not even for sure where they do the Labor Day Classic at now.
I'm not either. I think they maybe went back to North Vernon. They were at North Vernon for several years, and then they went over to Greensburg. I always remember Greensburg when we had the AKC National Championship there. I had a guy jump out of an airplane with a big American flag. And I thought, as I'm watching this guy, I said, I hope that guy don't crash because I don't think our insurance will cover it.
Greensburg. I'm honestly not even sure where they have it at. I mean, it's there's just so many more options now. I mean, beforehand the people, and I did it, you would hunt one night at Autumn Oaks and then go hunt the Labor Day Classic. I mean, Drew got the money a couple of different times of us doing that, but now you can just easily, I mean, you can hunt all you want the week of Autumn Oaks and hunt at any rate or any fee that you want to hunt at.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you and Drew winning Autumn Oaks. My buddy Nubbin Moore that runs with me a lot, and of course he was a former field rep for UKC. He won it back on the 25th anniversary Autumn Oaks we had in Jasper, Indiana. But that's a lifetime deal. And how'd that go for you guys?
It was, my dog, he's 11 years old now, my shredder dog. And the thing that's with that one is I had never had a dog get Ehrlichia. And he actually took his last dose of Doxy on the Friday of Autumn Oaks, and I had just about withdrawn him, and I drew Convoy and Convoy, Ohio, and we went up there, and that dog was so stiff and just I mean, you know what tick-borne diseases does to a dog, and I called my dad. He was at the camper, and some friends of ours that camped with us was going to spectate with me that night. And Drew had stayed at the fairgrounds with Dad. They just like running around there on the golf cart and doing all of that stuff. I called my dad and I told him, I said, I'm just going to withdraw him. I said, he's just not got it. And Dad said, no, you're already up there. Just hunt him. Just hunt him. And if you have to pull him, just just pull him. And so I said, okay. I said, it's going to be useless. But lo and behold, we get out there, and I think 550 or 575. I don't remember which, but anyhow, I won the cast, and I won the cast, and that got us into the Grand 16, and then into the Grand 16, I drew Jason Smith, which is in turn now, one of my best friends, River, and he was hunting River, and we right off the bat, River had a circle slick. I like to laugh and tell him that circle slick, and Shredder trailed around there for a little bit and got a coon, and Jason laughs that West Virginia people don't know how to tell time on the clock. He says that the judge had a struggling on telling time, and I tell him all the time he struggles hearing, because he was wanting to River was recut, and he was wanting to get all the dogs loose so he could get 100 strike, and I wanted the judge to hear River so she could lock in at 25. And I tell him that on that night the Lord did a miracle in his hearing, that he learned how to hear so I could hear for him and stuff. And so anyhow, I locked her in at 25, and she had a coon, and then Shredder was treed at the end, and I told the judge going in there, and I had to tree him, and I told the judge going in, and the cast too, I said, I'm not shining it. I said, I've won the cast, I'm done. And I said, you guys shine all y'all want. When y'all are happy, I'm happy. And because I'll be honest with you, Shredder would get him a possum every once in a while, and so we walked in, and it was a big, huge tree, and I knew, wasn't no possum, and there wasn't no slick, and Shredder went bad to slick anyhow. And so Jason, he fumbled around there and shined a little bit, and then he said he was done. So we circled it and went back into the 16 or the final four, and final four was kind of happening. I made a bad call right off the bat, got in a hole. Then some dogs made some mistakes, and Shredder treated coon, and just kind of, hunting at 2 hours, that late round, I always say winning that late round's the hardest cast you'll ever win in your life. And we just put it together, and honestly, I'll never forget it. I get choked up thinking about it still yet. When we got into the last tree, and a walker dog took some minus, and Shredder was treed, and I knew I was going in there, and I knew I was winning. And when that walker dog took some minus, and I was running the score in my head, and I thought it didn't matter. And Shredder ended up having a coon too. But I remember when the judge said it was over, I walked over, and you can tell my voice, it gets me choked up still yet. I bent down, I got down on my knees, one knee there, and then Drew come up behind me and put his arms on my head, my neck, and you don't miss those. People don't remember who won 2016 Autumn Oaks. People don't remember that, but when it's just different things, like that with my son and with my dad being there, and I tell people all the time it's the only picture that my dad's ever got in. And, he didn't care. Dad could give a flip if we won or if we lost. I mean,
I know.
Dad's from Southern West Virginia, and he'll still shoot a possum out. I mean, a groundhog, whatever,
Well, my father was that way about hunting, about competition, cared nothing at all about it.
Yeah.
But, we continually say on this podcast, or I do, and I think some of my guests do, that it's about those kind of things.
Yeah.
It's not about that big trophy. It's not about
Yeah.
that big check. It's about those moments.
Yeah.
And someday, if the Lord lets you live, Jamie, till you're as old as I am and older, because I'm. Somebody asked me if I'd coon hunted all my life, and I said, "Well, not yet,"
Yeah.
But those are the things that
Yeah.
stick with us. Those
Yeah. And
memories.
yeah, nobody remembers, who won it in 2016, but it's just like the night that Drew won youth nationals, and I still remember, he didn't like it, he didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but I can still remember him standing in the middle of the Tippecanoe River in northern Indiana, the Tippy River,
Yeah.
and me hearing Drew say, I got it, and getting the judge over there, and we're all backed up in the water looking high, and this coon sitting low, and Drew, had enough sense to, we all checking high, and he goes over and checks low, and that just comes from his dog ability, and
Yeah.
and he finds it sitting, and then I remember coming up and hugging him right there, and I mean, and those are things that
Oh yeah, priceless,
know,
Jamie. They're
yeah,
priceless. There's no, yeah,
and that's what those are the things that now, as I get older, I realize, and I've said it before. For me, my wife is driving me right now, and she knows this as much as anybody. Is hunting's changed for me, because, and honestly, it's tough, because for years it was me and my dad, and then it was me and my dad and Drew, and then it was me and Drew, and now Drew's doing his life and everything, and
Sure.
he's had to kind of take a step back to get real life started, and
Sure.
and now it's Jamie, and I'll be honest with you, Jamie don't like it.
No,
So
I understand fully.
and so that's and but it's and that goes back to what we said about Autumn Oaks. Is I told somebody this weekend, I said I could just about travel across this country and never stay in a hotel if I didn't want to. I can,
Yeah.
because you got people stationed all across that are friends,
Right.
and that's and we had a little bit of a question in the cast, and at the state hunt, you was talking about the state hunt, the one guy on the cast that probably wasn't real happy about the situation. He sent me some messages, and my answer to him was, I said, you're in this sport, you're going to meet far better people and more good people than what you are bad people.
Sure.
And I said, don't let one cast. I mean, we've all got that one cast, or we've all had those moments, but just like I told you at the beginning, the reality of it is, I'm going up here to see a lady that's going to be having brain surgery tomorrow or the next day with possible brain cancer, and her son and daughter-in-law is bringing her little grandbaby up here for her to see him, and that's real. That ain't winning or losing a hunt ain't real. I mean, we all love to do it, but and that's what I tell Trevor and them all the time. I said, me dealing with a whining coon hunter, that don't bother me. I mean, I can handle those questions. That ain't real life.
Yeah, that's right. Well, there was a guy that was a Purina rep back in the day and was active coon hunter of blue ticks, and you may have met him years ago. Les Rogers. He was from.
I know the name.
Yeah, he was from North Carolina. I think it's in Alabama now. But Les's solution to all that was saying, it's just a game, boys.
Yeah.
It's only a game. You know? And it's not life and death. and it's and we have to keep it in perspective. We're all competitive. We wouldn't do these shows or hunts or whatever if we didn't want to win. Why would we do that? What enjoyment? Well, you might find the occasional guy that just likes to walk along and see the other guy's dogs.
Yeah.
But there's very few of those people around. We want to win. I want to win.
Yeah.
And
and that's, I'm very competitive. I mean, that's what I can't help it. I mean, I'm very competitive, and it's just but doing this has kept me in perspective. And I even told my kids today, I said, I'm 3 years of my mom's death, and I'm my mom passed away at 53 and I'm 50, and it's that's even
it's sobering. It's sobering.
That is, and it's and I'm in better health than what my mom was, but still yet it's I couldn't imagine 3 years. I mean, that ain't life moves pretty quick, and so that's it is what it is.
Well, for me, Jamie, it kind of slipped up on me. I was always very active. Even the years that I was with those registries, I happened to live in a great place to hunt in Michigan, and I hunted a lot. I mean, and most of the time by myself, And then as I left UKC and went to PKC, I started hunting in the UKC hunts again because, conflict in interest. They didn't let me hunt back then. I don't know what their policy is now, but at any rate, it just kind of slipped up on me one day. When I moved to the mountains in North Carolina, when I retired from AKC, and man, it was a struggle to get up that ridge to get to that dog tree, or if I dropped off the mountain, it was going to be a struggle to get back up to the buggy, and it's life, and it happens, and it evolves, and now I'm in a position where I have to kind of find an easy place. And it's just, and there's nothing physically wrong with me except just my age and too many years sitting behind a desk talking on a phone and then doing these podcasts and things like that instead of doing actual physical labor. But
physical stuff,
but I just encourage everybody, if you're young enough to enjoy the sport, enjoy it to its fullest. Keep it in perspective. Don't but let it play. Let your family play second fiddle to your hunting, and it's just such a great sport.
It was kind of funny. I'll say this, the week we won Automotes, I went up and Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember, probably Wednesday, and it was back when Alan had first started introducing the what is today the TOC. He did the Grand Masters, and I judged on Wednesday and Thursday night, maybe both nights for him in the Grand Masters. And one of those nights I had judged 2 rounds. I can't remember which. I think it was Thursday night I judged 2 rounds in the Grand Masters, it's seen daylight come up, and maybe it was Wednesday night. I think it was. I think Wednesday night I judged 2 rounds, and then Thursday night I hunted in the Dual Champions and or the Slam or something. But anyhow, I remember we didn't do anything, but I got in bed on Thursday night, and then Friday night, I seen daylight pretty much come up from Convoy, and then Saturday night hunting 2 rounds. But I when we got to the camper on Saturday night after the hunt, I turned my phone off, and because we were just wore out and we had to be back up for the ceremony on Sunday morning at 9 or 10, whatever it was. And I just remember, and it was so ironic, from Sunday morning that I turned my phone back on until Monday morning, I still remember this, and it just makes me laugh. I'd gotten 219 friend requests from coon hunters. on Facebook, and I remember, this is the part that's funny, is so many people would send me messages and would ask, what did you do to get ready? And honestly, I just tell people, I hunted. I mean, I liked the dog that I had. He was fun to hunt. He was enjoyable. And I don't think I'd done anything but hunt. And people are, they're always looking for this secret formula to success. But, I mean, there's really not. Like, I'll give a plug to Doyle Murphy, winning a ton. Doyle wins in every registry. And, people think, well, Doyle's got money backing him. He does. But one thing I can say for Doyle, he's a hunter. I mean, he is a hunter. And these guys, they might have money backing, but I promise you, they're out there at night. And right now I'm not hunting, and, I got 3 dogs. I don't think you could put a coon in my kennel, and any of them could tree a coon. So that, but that's another story. So,
well, we've talked about Shredder. Now, he was an English red tick dog, right? Anything about his breeding that you can recall just off your head?
I know it very well. Shredder is off of Rocky Creek Boogeyman on top, and Boogie goes back. If you trace Boogie back far enough, you're going to get back into the junior dogs and
RF Dickey.
RF Dickey, Timber Star Buck, and Buck was owned by Hank Horn.
Horn, I hunted with Buck. He and Larry Wilcox and I hunted together some in Michigan.
Hank was, or is, everybody want to say that, is my second cousin.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And Hank and my mom were first cousins, and so that's kind of how I got, if you want to say, get started in English dogs. I can remember as a boy going up to Elkhart, Indiana, and hunting with Sandy and
Dickie's old Sandy.
And then I remember one year we left. Dad was working second shift in the mines, and he got off from work, and we drove. My dad and myself and Hank's brother drove to the Grand American, and we got to the hotel room, and I don't even know how old I was. I probably, middle elementary, something like that. And go into the hotel room, and there was Hank in one bed and Sandy laying at the foot of his bed, and there was Larry in the other bed and JR at the foot of his bed. And, it didn't take me long I had JR and Sandy both right over, with me. And then I still remember going to breakfast that morning and RF Dickey being there, Roland being there, and just, and then the bottom side of Shredder was a female called Hot Tamale, which was off of a Doyle Grand dog that was off of Rooster, and her daddy was Swamp Rat, and I had a full mate to Swamp Rat, and I personally believe it was the best cross ever off of Rooster, or one. Everybody's got an opinion on that, so I'm entitled to mine. But this cross also had another shot of Woody Summers, Tennessee Woody, Joe Summers, which brought in another shot of Buck. So that's kind of who Shredder was and is. So that's why I say I know that well, is because, my wife probably sitting there thinking he can remember all of these pedigrees. And I sent him to the store and he can't remember. She just rolled her eyes at me and he says, you can't remember. You can't remember to pick up a loaf of bread, but you can tell me dogs' pedigrees of 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you recall or bring back many fond memories of me of being able to hunt with Larry Wilcox and with Hank Horn and
Oh, yeah.
and you know, and then there's so many others. But we did we pleasure hunted, and there's a
Yeah.
lot. Someday I'll have to recap some of the funny stories.
Yeah.
I thought Larry and Hank were stealing my dog one night. I didn't know they were hunting in the same woods I was.
Yeah.
And-
Hank, Hank was always, his hair was always perfect.
Oh,
He
yeah.
didn't have to comb his hair. He, we always laugh, and maybe I shouldn't even tell this, but my dad was a hunter, and I mean, if it went up, it came down. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just and so Hank owned Hornet campers. That was
Well,
what
he had Jayco was the brand that he
and so he owned those campers. So my dad talked him into building him a dog box and Hank built Dad a secret compartment in that dog box so Dad could hide a gun in the
his
summertime.
gun.
So that's,
Well, I don't know
no.
if they still do it or not, but I learned all about that in my tenure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those, yeah.
yeah. So
I don't want to give it away for some of the guys
Yeah.
that maybe still be doing it, but still, I get you. I understand.
one of the things that really changed the sport of coon hunting is DNA. I said, bringing things up now, I said, you can't get by with a lot of stuff like it used to be. And I said, growing up, if you needed a set of papers, all you had to do was go to Tazewell Flea Market. You could find anything just about.
Well, this is no reflection on the state of Arkansas, but the first time I went out there with a hunt, and I believe it was at Pine Bluff, and it was most likely the Blue Tick Fall Roundup.
Yeah.
But, being working in the office, I was like Trevor and Alan, I had to go to all the events, only there was just one of me. And I walked through the dog barns there one time, and there was a little brindle female there. Of course, that caught my eye, being plot man. And I asked the guy what she was out of, and he pulled out a briefcase full of papers. And most of them were just litter registration certificates,
Yeah.
And I thought, no, that was a foolish question. He doesn't have a clue either. But DNA solved a lot of that right there for sure.
And so that kind of changed the concept of it. So I've I just kind of laugh and see where it's come from. And Trevor, I did a podcast with him, and he asked me that question, and I said to him, the only thing is the same in the sport of coon hunting in my life is the coon. That's it. Everything else has changed.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you could just, without going into a long laundry list, but the dogs have certainly changed.
Very much.
The equipment we use, the availability of devices to keep up with our dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, that was always the most frustrating thing to me in the world was losing a dog out there in those mountains. Not having a clue where that dog was.
You're just riding around, leave your jackets. You got half of your clothes laid out, strung out everywhere you think the dog's going to be, and
knocking on doors and leaving your number and giving me a call if you see this dog, or
trying to find him. I've been there many times.
Well, back in the day when I was young, and I'm a lot older than you, you basically just had your address on the nameplate, and people would drop you a postcard.
Yeah.
And you get a postcard, say Joe Smith from Glady, West Virginia. We lost one in Glady one time, bear hunting.
Yeah.
The reason I said that. And he showed up in Harmon, I think it was, or somewhere
there.
But, well, Jamie, it's been great visiting with you.
It has.
And it always is. And I know you're going to be busy, but now, will you be around during the day at all at Autumn Oaks?
Oh, yeah, I'll be there. And I'll be there from Tuesday till Tuesday till Saturday, and so we'll see you. I'm sure you'll be probably at the American Cooner booth. So
Well, actually, the American Cooner went by the wayside, and so did Full Cry. But now Jason Doobie and Danny, his wife, they are publishing Full Cry, and I'll give them a plug. They're doing a great job with it. But they'll have some kind of a booth or facility or something outside. But a couple of years ago, Alan and Trevor made available space for us right there in the headquarters building for the media, for podcasters and such. So I'll be right there by the UKC headquarters. If you get a chance to stop by, we'll visit.
I'll be by there, and we'll hook up, and I look forward to it. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right.
A few weeks, anyhow.
All right, my friend. Jamie Estep, the busiest man I know. You be safe out there on those country roads.
All right. Well, we're gonna go up here and do a visit, and I don't know where my wife's going to take me to eat, but she's going to take me somewhere up here today. So.
Well, that's great. Well, you all be careful.
Right,
Lord bless you, Jamie.
All right. See you, man. Thank you.
See you, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Friends, Jamie Estep, he really is the real deal. As we used to say back home, all wool and a yard wide. Busiest man I know. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the Gone to the Dogs podcast for this week, folks. I do thank you so much for listening. I want to always thank our good friends Buddy Woodbury and Jason Doobie and all the folks at W Hunting Supply. And I also want to thank the sponsor, Alpha Dog Nutrition, that has come aboard. And without these good folks, we would not be able to do this. And if you you need anything in the line of equipment for you, your dog, apparel, electronics, whatever it is, nutrition aids, see these folks. They won't do you wrong. They have great customer service. Well, until Autumn Oaks, this is airing just about a week before Autumn Oaks. And as I said, I'll be there, and I hope you'll stop by to see us. The old voice is about gone for another week, so you folks have a great week. Go to church with your family on Sunday morning. You'll enjoy it. The pastor will appreciate it, and it'll do you a lot of good. Anyone ask you where Steve Fielder these days, just tell them, well, you know that guy. He's gone to the dogs.